record.
Yeah, it
And
is.
we are gonna go up like this, and we're gonna smile. Gonna capture that. It's gonna be wonderful. Oh my God. I need surgery to get rid of my lazy eye. I think I need to
I think you got to get Mary or whoever can like chop up our videos is to take all the outtakes out of them and just make a reel. Because
I was like when you sent me that one when you're like it was like 3 seconds right in the beginning. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. It'll take me like 5, 6, 7, 8 tries to like get the first line right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
it's terrible. Yeah, I know.
Okay. That said,
Let's talk about.
let's talk about. So one of the topics that keeps coming up is really just personal investment and what that means to a lot of people. And I heard somebody, this was another short that I found on YouTube actually, but it was a gentleman that was actually talking about when you invest in yourself, you're actually taking care of your future self. And so to me, that was really interesting because it flipped the script a little bit on, hey, I'm spending all this effort. It feels, sometimes people think it's selfish. Sometimes people think it's almost times egotistical. You spend a lot of money, you don't know if you're going to get the results, but at the end of the day, there's a lot that goes into personal development and personal growth that really is you're just actually looking out for your future self. You are putting in the time, the effort, the resources to say, I love me, I love my future self, I want to set myself up for success. The same way that we tend to think about other people and what we can do for them, we should be thinking about that in our own capacity and what we can do for ourselves to make our future lives easier, better, more fruitful, more joyous, etc. How do you have any experience on that? I mean, tell me your thoughts.
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. No. All right, clip done.
Actually, it was the last thing you said is how I think about it is making life easier for my future self, because I think a lot of people think about future self and it's this like pie in the sky or something they can't really wrap their head about. It's like, well, I don't really know how I'm going to be in the future. And so for me, it's easier to say I'm making an investment today or I'm doing something in this moment that's going to make it easier for me in the future, whatever that future self looks like. So
Yeah.
if I'm going out and I'm increasing my strength training workout, my future self is going to have it easier when it comes to doing X, Y, and Z. Or I'm reading 10 pages a day every single day for this month because my future self is going to need to know this information and it's going to be more efficient for me to already know it at that time versus have to go out and figure out how to learn it in the moment.
Yeah.
So that's how I've kind of changed the script for me, is less about the work that I'm putting in and more about I'm trying to make things easier. Like I have the time now, I can invest now, and that will cause me to be more efficient or more productive or to reach higher levels in a future state.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of people, because I would put myself in this camp as well. I struggle with getting started, right? Once the ball's rolling a little bit, it's much easier for me just to continue with the momentum. And I think a lot of people resonate with that, where it's like I either don't know how to start or I don't want to start. There's like something holding me back. Usually, obviously it's the internal aspects of it, whatever that is. I mean, I would say even this as an example, shooting content. I mean, how long did it take for us to talk about it? Get the logistics, and instead, like, let's just have a conversation and record it type thing, right? And once you get started, it's a lot easier to do that. And I found myself using the tactics of almost visualization to leverage me in putting forth that effort to get started. So what I mean by that is, I have this vision for myself, and I would try to sit down and I would say, okay, here's what I'm going to visualize. I'm going to be this type of person, but I would focus more on the characteristics. I needed to make better eye contact. I needed to be better with my words. My storytelling needed to improve. I had to be comfortable in front of a camera, right? And so I took each one of those things one at a time, and I focused on the characteristics, and then it became a little bit easier because it wasn't, hey, this is the person I want to become. I don't know how to become that person. It's, hey, this is a characteristic. It's almost taking that long-term goal, breaking it into the milestones, just doing it for personal attributes, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing you said too that I resonate with, and I think it's true of a lot of people, is we don't get started. And we don't get started in investing in our future selves because we're still afraid, even if no one's going to see it. We're afraid we're going to fail. It's not going to be good. And just to start, and I was thinking about this the other day when I was getting ready because oh my gosh, it's probably been almost a year and a half now since I started doing stories on social media. And first it was just personal, and then it moved into HG, and then it moved into daily videos. And I resisted so much. I hated it. And it was like, this is going to be terrible. I don't want to do it, yada, yada, yada. And I was thinking about it and I was like, I wish I would have just started earlier
Yeah.
because knowing what I know now is it doesn't really matter. I'm learning as I go. It's getting better. I'm figuring out how to speak clearer, make things more concise. But what was really tripping me up was not that I necessarily didn't want to invest. It was so I was so worried about not doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's an important element for people to keep in mind too is you don't have to have all the structure figured out on how you're going to get there to your future self. Take action to invest and to make things easier for your future self, even if it isn't perfect today.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me. So I'm a part of Apex, and Ryan Stewman used this analogy a long time ago, and he basically said, you need a car to start, right? And then you can refine everything about it, right? You can put spoilers on it, you can, fine tune the engine, you put new wheels on it, all that good stuff. But if you don't even have a car, right? Let's say you're trying to go somewhere and you're on foot in the middle of a freeway, or you're on a bike instead of a car, right? You got to get the car first. And at the end of the day, everybody starts from zero. And so the idea is when you start, you then have your car, you can always fine tune it. You can always make it faster. You can always make it better. But you need to be like, if you want to compete, you just have to start. You have to get on that highway. You have to be going somewhere fast. And if you're not that, you're walking, you're falling, you're biking, you're just falling behind everybody else. And so there is a very, significant like entry point for most people, and that is just getting beyond that barrier. And that's where I think when you start to take those bigger objectives, like I used in kind of my illustration of saying, okay, here's a personal characteristics, I'm going to focus on that. That tends to lower that barrier of saying, okay, I'm just going to focus on this and get started, and then I'll figure out how to improve it.
Yeah. And I think the other piece that goes into it is when, at least for me, when I think about where I want to get to, whether that's characteristics or tangible things, I have an idea and it's a lot of things, right? It's this, and this.
Mhm.
And so there tends to be an element at times of analysis by paralysis. Well, I want to be all these things in the future, or I want to be good at all of these things. And so knowing today, you don't have to solve all those problems. So, yes, starting is important, but you don't have to start on all of them. Pick one or two and focus on that.
Yeah.
And, you're gradually making progress and it compounds over time. So, let's say you're focusing on presenting it, during our content sessions. And step one is eye contact, and step two is removing filler words. As you gradually add those small pieces, the overarching theme is you will be better at talking on camera and communicating your story or your message to people. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing, just kind of pivoting a little bit, that speaks to me, and I know a lot of people get lost in this, is barriers, right? So we talk about how do you start, but the other piece is when you are started and you start running a lot faster, right? A lot of the inexperienced people out there will just share about how you just have to grind 24/7. There's, I'm working 28 hours a day, right? 20 days a week, right? And at the end of the day, we all know that's BS. It becomes when you invest in yourself and you love, that's the important word, you love your future self. You know what you like. Like it's really easy for us to say, hey Lisa, you need to get more rest, hey you need to eat better, hey you need to get physical activity, but then we don't even do that for ourselves. It's really important when you have that car and you are on that highway and you're moving really really quickly, that you still keep those things in place for yourself, because that's protecting your future self, right? You need that rest. You need to put the right content in your brain. You need to eat the right foods. You need to, get some physical activity and get outside and all that good stuff. The things that we know that we oftentimes recommend for other people, but then we don't even do for ourselves.
yeah. That reminds me, I don't know if you've watched it yet, that show on Netflix called Don't Die, about the
I
guy
started
who,
that actually.
yeah. And I was fascinated by it, but what I thought was really, well, a lot of it was really interesting, but what struck me that relates to this conversation is the way that he approaches everything through an algorithm. And so what you were just talking about is remembering to do the things that are going to make you healthy and function well today and tomorrow and in the future. And a lot of that actually comes from removing the emotion or the
Hmm.
feeling around doing those things. So there is an element, I believe, in working an algorithm because you know how to operate as your best self. We
Right.
all do. We know the things that we're supposed to do. And so sometimes saying these are the non negotiables because it's part of my algorithm that allows me to function at the highest level.
Yeah.
I do this, and then I add things for investment today for my future self on top of those.
No, 100%. And actually, let's use Bree, my wife, for the listeners as an example, where she's very good about this, and she actually yells at me in our app. So in the Habitual Growth app, one of the things that she does with this is she actually uses it instead of getting more things done. She uses it as barriers to make sure she's taking care of herself. So she will say, I need to meditate today, or I need to be in bed by this time. And if I'm not in bed by this time, then I'm going to be defeated. I'm not going to conquer the day. And I find that really interesting because I am on the other side of the spectrum where I really go after what can I fit into a day. And I don't think about it oftentimes in that capacity. And so she's a really nice balance. So, just for the users or the listeners out there, that's something that app is designed for, is to help you put up those protective barriers. If you're hustling and you're not taking care of yourself, that's all good in some seasons, but at the end of the day, you still need that rest. You
Yeah.
still need, to be physically active and eating nutritious and whatever. So it shouldn't just be a to-do list. I need to get more done. It's, hey, here's how I use the categories to define my parameters to make sure that I'm looking at my life holistically and taking care of myself because I love my future self that much.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is one of the reasons I absolutely love the app because it is so personalized because there are people exactly like Brie that use it to safeguard their time and the things that they know are important for them. And then there are other users who do that without even thinking. I'll use me for an example in this one. Like, I'm pretty darn good about always getting 8 hours of sleep. It has been a non-negotiable. I think I've talked about this before. A non-negotiable for a very long time. Same thing. I get my workouts in. It is a non-negotiable, and I don't even think about it anymore. So I don't put it on the list. I use the list probably more like you as, okay, there's some periods of time where I need a little bit more edge and get one more thing or to
Mhm.
something I'm avoiding and I need to get it done because I'm comfortable with the non-negotiables that I've set to take care of myself to run effectively.
Yeah.
There are other seasons in my life where I need to add things on to remind me to slow down, shut my computer off, take family time, step away for a minute. So it's a one size fits all, but it's also a personalized approach, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does. Absolutely. I think that's great. So, we both love ourselves. That's the important thing. Using the app to do that. But hopefully there's a lot of value here for people because we want, at the end of the day, we want people to understand, yes, there are some sacrifices that go into building the life of your dreams and whatever you have envisioned for yourself. But at the same time, it is important to do it holistically. And it is important to, in seasons, make sure that you're taking care of yourself and loving yourself in the right way. The things you're going to recommend to somebody else that you love and care about and want to see for them, you should be thinking about for yourself as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, topic down.
All right. I'll
Until
see you.
next time.
All
See
right.
you.
Bye.
Bye.